TIFU by freaking out my GF's coworkers by taking her out to lunch. By user Elegant Shoshon.
Last Friday, I had the day off work and decided to surprise my girlfriend at her job by stopping in to take her out to lunch as her shift was about done. She works at a very large and popular wholesale store that has hot dogs. She told me beforehand that I could come see her at work anytime and there would be no trouble. I walked in the front door and walked past the card. Checker girl. She did a double take and asked if I work there. I replied, no, I do not. I'm here to see an employee, however. I'm looking for... She sheepishly got her radio and said, management to front entrance. Non-emergency. A manager with the largest tablet I've ever seen strapped to her arm walked up and I explained again why I was there. She called for my Jeff on the radio, but she was not near her radio. I apparently kicked the hornet's nest and I could hear chatter on other employees' radios. Who's that guy here to see? Are we being audited? He looks important. Guys, look busy. I caught glances from just about every worker nearby, and I could feel them trying to figure me out. It was at this time my GF got back to her radio and heard the commotion and stepped out of her office and made eye contact with me. She wrapped up her work and we went out to lunch finally. I asked her why there was such a ruckus. She said that I dress nicely and I'm very polite, which are characteristics of a corporate rep who comes in to fire people. That's when she also admitted to me that I sometimes have asshole resting face. I guess I need to smile more. Told her. I surprised my GF at work, and her coworkers thought I was there to perform an audit or fire somebody. TIFU by working at the bar I used to sneak into underage. By user half the rainbow. This is entirely my fault. Frequented this bar for months as a 20-year-old. Got to know all the workers super well and ended up becoming great friends with the head of security, which eventually turned into me and her hooking up. Only problem she overheard from a conversation I was having with friends that my birthday was coming up the next week and asked me how old I was. Seeing as we were still in bed and she was, head of security, I told her I was 21, turning 22. Now, all of this wouldn't be that bad, but last week she asked me to help them out as security since I've worked in the bar industry for a year and a half now. At the time, it was a one-night thing since they just needed bodies for a show, but after the show, they asked to bring me on for all their shows. I didn't think about it until about a week later that the paperwork I filled has my job on it. I don't want to keep lying about my age to her, but if I tell her I'm barely 20, one, I might get fired, banned from their bar. What should I do? Should I tell her lied about being a year older to a bar I visited every week for months? They ended up hiring me last week, but I just realized their paperwork has my job clearly showing I just turned 21, not 22. What should I do? TIFU by giving a meth head $9 to rake my yard by user Lovesick Streaming. So this actually happened yesterday and my roommate suggested I put it on Reddit. So this started at around 10. I was walking outside to my car to take my wife to work as we share a car. A guy walks up to me and starts saying he will take my yard for some money. I told him no, because we have someone that does it. I also said no because he was clearly tweaking on meth and I didn't want him in my yard. Well, he wasn't taking no for an answer and he just started doing it anyways. I kept telling him not to do it, but I was in a rush as my wife was already running late, so I just handed him the cash from my center console and said, try to be done quick. I was kind of hoping he'd just take the money and leave before I got back because I didn't want to have to deal with him. Well, when I come back from dropping her off, he's still there and now has a lawnmower. At this point, I'm just telling him hurry up and go, but he's just rambling nonsense at 1,000 words a minute and picking individual grass blades out. So I decided to just go inside and make breakfast. When not even 5 minutes later, he's banging on my front door. I'm not an idiot, so I didn't answer it because I'm sure he wouldn't try to come inside. And instead, I called my uncle and he came over and basically told the guy to leave in 30 minutes or he's calling the cops. The guy freaked out a bit, but then proceeded to start calling my uncle Joe Biden and screaming, I can't believe a black man like me is cutting grass for the president. He then starts up his mower and starts cutting the grass after we told him to just leave. At this point, I'm starting to consider bringing my gun out to be more convincing. But I had a feeling he was from the meth house. That's like 5 houses down from me and didn't want to bring more trouble. In the end, it took him like 4 hours and he kept begging for more money. I guess the meth has long since wore off at this point because he looked like he was about to die on my sidewalk. So I gave him a water bottle and told him the person across the street probably needs their yard done. It's an abandoned house. I went to Walmart several hours later and saw him raking the sidewalk in front of the abandoned house. This is kind of the short version. I did end up giving him another $5. But I told him from the start I don't really carry cash, which is true. Also, if you're wondering why we didn't just actually call the cops, I kind of live hood adjacent, and that's really frowned on around here. Edit. I understand you shouldn't use a gun to intimidate people unless you plan to use it, which is why I didn't. I mostly included that to show how crazy the situation was, and that I was considering it because I had no idea what this guy's motives was. Also, for those saying, just call the cops. That would just bring me worse problems, and they don't like to show up around here even for a lot more serious things. Which is probably the reason when we threatened this guy with calling them, he still did not leave. Tell Doctor I very reluctantly gave a meth headed $9 to rake my grass, and he refuses to leave my house for another 4 hours. TIFU by calling the cops on my own surprise party. By user Thomas Clinethix 1139. So listen up, guys. Biggest brew moment of my life just happened. Like, the kind of big where you want to crawl in a hole and hide forever. I just got off my shift, tired as heck. Just want to come home, shower, and crash. But as I pull up to my house, I see something real strange. Lights are on all over the place, and shadows moving around inside. Now I live alone, like completely solo. No roommates, nothing. So things kind of freaked me out. My mind went to the worst places. Burglars, squatters, maybe even something worse. Heart thumping like a drum solo. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. Told the dispatcher there were intruders in my house. They said they'd send a car right away. While I wait outside, anxiety gnawing at me, a familiar car pulls up. It's Sarah, my best friend. Relief washes over me, but it's short-lived. 2 police officers emerge from the car behind her, guns drawn and faces grim. The next few minutes are a blur. Explanations, justifications, all falling on deaf ears. Turns out those silhouettes were my friends, throwing me a surprise party. But here's the kicker. They borrowed my spare key without telling me. The cops understandably weren't thrilled. Borrowing a key without permission is, well, illegal. My friend ended up in handcuffs. The party was over before it even began. The aftermath. A disaster. My trust in my friends is shattered. The thought of them rummaging through my belongings makes my skin crawl, and it gets worse. To feel safe again, I have to shell out thousands for new security doors and an alarm system. My friends released but facing charges are furious. They somehow think I'm the bad guy for calling the police, for not playing along with their little scheme. So yeah, this surprise party turned into a nightmare. Lost trust, financial strain, and strained friendships all around. All because my friends decided to break the law in the name of a good time. Tell Doctor, friends threw a surprise party by illegally entering my house. Cops got involved, friendships shattered, and everyone lost. Thanks, guys. TIFU by thinking I had a fungal infection. Gross. By user educational Wonder 70. So, I've had a rash on my armpit for a week. I've very diligently been washing it multiple times a day with soap and hot water, but it kind of started getting the sort of smell that fungal infections get. I was going to call the doctor on Monday if I still had it. The smell went away after I washed it and went about my day, but waking up and after getting in bed after a long day, there it was. My mattress pad is really annoying. Every night, as I toss and turn it, starts to slide off the bed. So every night before bed, I move everything back over. Today, the eggshell padding beneath it had bunched up, so I pulled up my pad to flatten out the egg crate, and there I find a dead mouse, shaped into the egg crate, clearly dead. And there, that pungent smell, that smelled just like a fungal infection. Now, of course, it's one of the worst smells I've ever smelled, because I'm horrified by the situation. The brain decided to stop rationalizing it as my own smell. I sprayed down everything possible with the deodorizing spray that they use in hospitals, and I just about bathed myself in disinfectant, but I'm still totally and utterly disgusted. Tell Doctor, a mouse died under my mattress pad, and I thought the smell was something else for 2 days. To edit. Just to clarify, the smell wasn't constant. I only smelled it when I moved the mattress pad around.